Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about our NFL Week 7 predictions and pick 'em for this upcoming week of the NFL season. But we have something super exciting to announce as well here on the channel, and that is an NFL jersey giveaway for Justin Fields. It is a Chicago Bears jersey for their rookie quarterback. I know he's a fan favorite of many on the channel, so we're excited for you guys to have a chance at winning this jersey giveaway. In order to be entered in today's video, you need to hit the like button, leave a comment. It could be anything from jersey giveaway to something about the actual content we posted. And also make sure to be subscribed to Utility Sports. That is the most important part to be entered in the jersey giveaway. Without further ado, let's jump into our pick'em here for week 7 of the NFL season. With our pick'em records at this point, I'm sitting at 27-17, and Austin, the wizard here on the channel, sitting at 29-15. He is the king of pick'em, so we'll see if I can catch up to him throughout this season. Moving into the teams that are on bye here for week 7. Buffalo Bills, the Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Los Angeles Chargers, Minnesota Vikings, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are all on bye this week, so they will not be featured in this video. But don't worry, fans, this will still have some ramifications for fantasy. Make sure you're not playing any of these players from these teams in your lineups this week in fantasy. As we move in now to our locks, Austin, let's start with yours here. You have the Los Angeles Rams as a lock over the Detroit Lions. Lions are 0-6 at this point of the season. How sure are you in this pick?
I feel pretty good about this. I think Matthew Stafford has a good level of familiarity with this defense and some of the personnel it has on it. The LA Rams are a really, really tough team to beat, especially if they can get the ball going on the ground against the Detroit Lions. It's going to be an uphill battle for this team to come back and win. I think the Rams are going to be a handful for the Lions going into it, and I think Matt Stafford's really going to have a huge game against his former team.
Yeah, we have a fun matchup here. Stafford gets to face off with the Detroit Lions. I consider the Rams as a lock myself, but I opted to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over another NFC North team, the Chicago Bears, specifically because of the defensive front of Tampa Bay. I think that they're going to have their way with that offensive line there of Chicago. Even though Tampa Bay is a little dinged up in the secondary right now, I still trust them to get the job done. They're 5-1 coming in, and I expect them to be 6-1 by the end of week 7. Moving in to our upsets, Austin, you ended up going with the Atlanta Falcons over Miami. Miami, of course, playing on a very short week, having to travel back from London. What's your thoughts on this game?
You know, Tua had a good game, I guess, against Jacksonville. However, I think Atlanta, them being the underdogs in this game, I think it's going to be a very, very close and competitive game. Hopefully Atlanta can get healthy, and it's going to take a lot for this team to really come back and shine. But, you know, both teams have been struggling mightily. I trust Matt Ryan in this kind of game, even on the road. I like the Falcons in this one.
For my upset, have the New York Giants over the Carolina Panthers. And I think a key in this game is going to be James Bradberry against his old team, the Carolina Panthers. His play hasn't been up to his standards this season, but I think this is the game he gets back on track. Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers are on a 3-game losing streak, and I expect that to continue through this weekend. I think the Giants upset the Carolina Panthers here in a close but still thrilling game. Moving then to Thursday Night Football here with our picks. We have 2 3-3 teams this Thursday night, the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns, both in some different scenarios. The Broncos started out hot, kind of cooled off. The Browns have played some really tough opponents. We both opted for Cleveland here. Austin, what's your key reasoning on going with Cleveland?
I know that they are going to be able to run the ball. I know Kareem Hunt was hurt in this game. Nick Chubb should be able to provide some stability for this offense. However, I think it's going to be a closer game than people realize, just considering Baker Mayfield re-aggravated an injury once again. So the status for him next week is up in the air. Short week, I think that's going to be troublesome for the Cleveland Browns. I think this is a upset alert. However, I still opt to go with the Cleveland Browns in this one.
Right, they just have a little bit more talent on that roster. I think they get the job done as well. However, definitely a game I did consider as an upset this week. Which brings us now into our Sunday slate, of course. A whole slew of games on Sunday. Starting with our first game of the day, we have the Chiefs at Titans. This is a noon game. Austin, the Chiefs are 3-3. The Titans have a Monday night matchup, so they're on a little bit of a shorter week going up against Kansas City. They're 3-2 before their Monday night matchup. We both opted for Kansas City here. Talk about Kansas City's offensive weapons and how Tennessee has any chance, if at all, of limiting what they can do.
Yeah, so for for Kansas City, they're really going to get vertical with this team. I think that Tennessee has to they have to generate some pass rush. That is going to be the key in this game. If they can get after Patrick Mahomes, they do have a chance in this game, because offensively, they're going to be a handful for Kansas City, just considering how well they run the football. Kansas City has had some issues against the run this season. However, I think it still will be a Kansas City win. I feel very confident that Patrick Mahomes and this team will figure it out, and I think this could be one of those big breakout games for them.
Most definitely. I think Kansas City, this could be a real identity win for them this season, coming over a very tough opponent on the road. This is a key game for Kansas City. Austin, if the over-under was placed at 125 rush yards for Derrick Henry, are you hitting the over or the under on that bet?
I think I would hit the over on that one. I think he could have over that mark. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a hard-fought game. But part of the reason I'd be a little nervous on doing that is just because what if they have to start throwing? If Kansas City's able to jump on them early, then they might have to start abandoning the run and actually start throwing the football to keep pace with this offense.
Right, that's going to be a key storyline. How much can Tennessee control the time of possession? I think that's going to be really key for them, slowing this game down, making it really more of a long-term fight rather than a quick sprint, because Kansas City, when they're sprinting, it's hard for any other team to keep up with them throughout the entire NFL. Moving into our next game on Sunday, we got the Packers at the Washington football team. Green Bay's been on an absolute roll, moving to 5-1 after losing week 1. They have won 5 straight games. And the Washington football team, they've struggled without Ryan Fitzpatrick. Taylor Heineke's made some nice plays with his legs. However, the arm talent just really isn't there, in my opinion, to really elevate this football team. Austin, we both went with the Packers. How clear and decisive was this decision for you?
I felt pretty confident. Despite Green Bay being on the road, I thought they had a very, very good chance to win this game. I really think that they do. Aaron Rodgers is really going to get after the secondary. He should be able to exploit a couple of matchups. But the problem for Washington is going to be throwing the ball in the air. The Packers might be able to generate some pressure on Taylor Heineke, really force him out of the pocket and have him make some throws on the run, which he is capable of doing. I just don't think their offense will be able to keep pace with Green Bay's offense.
If Washington's going to win this game, they're going to need a big time performance from that defensive front, getting after Aaron Rodgers, making him uncomfortable. But even then, Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks off schedule. He makes plays with his legs all the time. Very good throwing the football on the move. It's going to be a tough matchup for Washington. I feel very confident as well that Green Bay leaves the District of Columbia with a win this weekend. Then we move into an interdivision matchup here. The Bengals at Ravens. We have 2 AFC North opponents. And I don't think before the year we would have expected the Bengals to be coming into this game at 4-2, only 1 game back of the 5-1 Ravens. We both went with the Ravens. However, I think this is one of the closer games of the week, especially when there's that divisional matchup on the line here. Austin, how much of a chance would you give the Bengals in this game?
I think I give them a pretty good chance to be competitive in this game, be very, very close. I give the slight edge to the Ravens. They've proven it to me week in, week out that they can beat tougher opponents. We saw it against Kansas City. This is a team that is starting to get on a roll, which is a little scary. They really control the line of scrimmage. They do a really nice job in a lot of phases of the game. The Cincinnati Bengals have been really impressive, especially offensively. And I think they've been surprisingly good on defense, which a lot of people were not anticipating. It's going to be a hard-fought matchup. You have to give the edge to Baltimore in this game, just considering that they are home, and it's hard to go into Baltimore and get a win on the road.
Right, I think that home field advantage is what's going to ultimately play the difference here. Also, looking at Cincinnati, you have to ask, how is their offensive line going to hold up? Joe Mixon's been playing great this year, but they also need to have time for Joe Burrow to deliver that deep ball to Jamar Chase. If the Bengals have a shot at winning, it's going to be through that deep ball with Jamar Chase, in my opinion. I just don't think Dinkin and Duncan underneath is going to really move the needle in this game. Baltimore, I think, wins a narrow 3 or maybe 4-point win this week against Cincinnati. Moving on, we have the Panthers at the New York Giants, and here is one of our first splits this week. The Giants coming in at 1-5, the Carolina Panthers at 3-3. Austin, talk about Sam Darnold a little bit. Your thoughts on why you ended up going with Carolina at this point?
I think the Carolina Panthers are bound for a bounce-back game. Offensively, they did not look good against Minnesota. A lot of turnovers, a ton of drops. The receivers were dropping it consecutively. It was a very tough game to watch for the Carolina Panthers. I just think that they are too talented to go in and lose this game. I do think the Giants have a shot in this one for sure. Sam Darnold needs to really pick up his play. He needs to be a little more careful with the football. and definitely has to be more of the game manager rather than trying to hit that home run ball like he's been trying to do. However, I think the Carolina Panthers should be the favorites in this game, despite them going into New York. I like this team as long as they clean up a couple of the little things. I mean, this might be a different conversation had they won that game today. They came very, very close, forced overtime, but ended up losing, obviously, from what we've seen. So I give the Carolina Panthers a slight edge in this one.
Right, and that's one thing I want to talk about here too. Panthers are very talented. I don't want to come across as someone who's not believing in this Panthers team, but it's just hard when they don't have their best player in Christian McCaffrey. They still almost got the job done today against Minnesota, despite having real lack of consistency offensively. Like you mentioned, DJ Moore had a few key drops. There was a lot of stuff going wrong in that game, and Carolina still almost walked away with a win. That was a fun matchup to watch, and I think this will be another fun one. I have the Giants getting it done here at home. Falcons at Dolphins now is our next game. We talked about this a little bit earlier on in the show. I'm going with the Dolphins here in a non-upset win, at home against the Falcons, despite a different week traveling back from London. Falcons at 2-3, Dolphins at 1-5. For me, the Dolphins have just been underwhelming this year. They have a very talented roster. I think that Brian Flores is a good coach, despite what we've recently seen. This was a team that I had expectations for winning 11, maybe 10 games this season, and they just haven't lived up to that yet to this point. I think it'll be key for Myles Gaskin to get involved in the pass game early. Had some struggles doing that this past week against Jacksonville, but I think that's really the key to the game for me. Austin, what's the keys to the game for you?
I think it's going to be, can Atlanta exploit the secondary for the Miami Dolphins? The Dolphins were not healthy against Jacksonville. Big reason why they had lost, but they need to see a little more consistency out of the run game for the Miami Dolphins. They got to run the football better. That's the key reason why they had lost this past game. Just were not establishing the run very well. And, truly, I think they have to put a little more effort into running it.
Right. That has been a key issue there for Miami. Over 65% of their plays this year have been pass plays. They are abandoning the run game. Salvin Ahmed and Myles Gaskin just not getting the job done in that department. We'll see how the game script goes this week against Atlanta. Moving on now, we have another interdivision matchup. My New York Jets here in the AFC East versus the New England Patriots, Austin. We've seen this matchup play out time and time again. Jets coming in at 1-4, Patriots at 2-4 after a narrow defeat to the Dallas Cowboys. We both went Patriots. I feel like this is one of the obvious picks of the week. New England just doesn't lose to New York very often. The Jets cannot beat Bill Belichick consistently, and it just feels like another matchup here where the Patriots are going to sweep the season series. What's your thoughts?
Patriots are so tough at home, and especially against the New York Jets. As of late, over the last couple of years, the Patriots have dominated this matchup. And despite the Patriots not looking great, I mean, they had a close, narrow loss to the very talented Dallas Cowboys. I think Mac Jones will do enough to get them this win. I think it's possible that we see Zach Wilson make a couple of key mistakes on the road in a very, very tough environment to play in, especially a division rival. It's going to be a tough game for the Jets. However, I really do see the Patriots coming out on top on this one.
This season matchup has been so lopsided that Zach Wilson's 4 interceptions against this team earlier this season wasn't even the worst quarterback performance in recent memory from the New York Jets against the New England Patriots. AKA, I'm seeing ghosts on national television. Quote Sam Darnold, quote of the year there. Just been a tough matchup. Jets not getting it done. Patriots win this one easily. Lions at Rams here. Lions come in at 0-6. Rams at 5-1. We talked about this in the opener. Rams easily hit the lock button here on this one. Rams are not going to lose to the Detroit Lions this week, especially not at SoFi Stadium. Austin, what else is there to this game?
It's really going to be, is Darrell Henderson going to have a good game? I think he will. He's been very consistent this year. He's been the go-to guy. He can really pound the rock. I think that's the key for victory for the LA Rams, really establishing the run, opening up that play action.
We'll see if the Rams can get it done and how many points they win this game by. Austin, if the over-under was 16.5 points win margin for the LA Rams, would you hit the over or the under? A little bit more of a competitive game.
I think I'm going to hit the under on that one, just considering the Detroit Lions have been very competitive, even in the games the other team has been heavily favored. So I would hit the under. I think they're going to be competitive in this one. However, I trust the Rams at home to get it done.
Yes, Rams possibly moving on to 6-1 after the home game here against Detroit Lions as Jared Goff returns to LA. Moving on, we got the Eagles at Raiders here. The Raiders, in a state of flummox, did get the win this week against Denver at 4-2. However, the John Gruden scenario has definitely played out and has drawn a lot of attention to that franchise. The Eagles, on the other hand, kind of laying low, standing at 2-4, have a ton of picks in this year's draft. We both opted for the Raiders at home. How much do you think that home field advantage at Allegiant Stadium plays into this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously going into Las Vegas and getting a win is going to be tough for the Eagles. They were competitive in that game against Tampa, so that gives you a little hope as an Eagles fan potentially that you could beat the Raiders. There's a lot happening in that organization, a lot of turmoil, but I still see the Raiders winning this one. They had a surprise win. I don't think a ton of people anticipated them to play this well, considering the whole John Gruden situation this past week, and they go ahead, get the job done against the Eagles.
Austin, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this. This is something that I've kind of picked up in recent years under the John Gruden regime. Just some of the inconsistency of play from the Las Vegas Raiders. They're a team that can go and play to the likes of a team like Kansas City historically, has beaten Kansas City on the road before. They've played very well against some upper level competition, but has also let some games go against some teams that you're like, wow, they should have for sure beat them. This game kind of feels like a little bit of a trap game to me as well, where I think the Eagles could pull this one out. This one is not a clear, decisive win, in my opinion. I think the Raiders pull this one out narrowly, but still get the job done in Las Vegas. Moving on to Texans Cardinals here, a game that I do not expect to be a very narrow margin of victory. I think the Cardinals at home walk through Houston. I just think that this is a very easy matchup for the Cardinals. The Texans have been playing not good football as of late. They got 40-pieced by the Buffalo Bills a few weeks ago. I just think at the end of the day, the Cardinals win this one easily. Austin, what more is there to this game?
You know, there's not a lot to say. I mean, really, if Houston can keep Kyler Murray contained in the pocket, make him throw out of the pocket, it's still going to be a tough game, but that's really your best shot, making sure you're containing him. And you really have to hope that you're stifling the run so you can kind of sell out for the pass. That's the best chance that they have. I still like the Cardinals in this one.
Only storyline maybe to watch then is J.J. Watt getting to meet up with some of his old teammates from the Houston Texans. That is about it for this game. Then we have Bears at Buccaneers. I had them as my lock earlier on in this video. Buccaneers over the Chicago Bears. Bears at 3-3. Buccaneers at 5-1. Austin, we both opted for the Buccaneers, and I know we're both very high on the Buccaneers as well. Outside of just this game, how far do you think the Buccaneers could go this season?
Well, I really think that you have to look at them as potential NFC favorites once again. I think the Rams and Packers offer a pretty hard punch, and we also saw Dallas was able to be very competitive and played a close game with Tampa. I think you'd have to consider them a top 2 team in the NFC for sure.
I think one other thing that we haven't really talked about throughout any of these videos yet at this point is kind of the divide right now we have in football. When we do our mock drafts, we see the top 10 has a lot of teams that are, 4 games under 500 already at this point, a bunch of teams that are around that 1-5 mark. Whereas looking at some of the teams at the top, like you mentioned, the Cowboys, Packers, Buccaneers, Rams, all at 5-1, I think there's a real divide between the top and the bottom right now. Austin, do you feel the same way about the NFL currently?
Yeah, it definitely feels that separation. You have a lot of teams that only have that one loss or are undefeated. Another team that I forgot to mention, and that was the Cardinals. I mean, they've looked absolutely phenomenal. You have to consider them at the top of the NFC as well. But the Buccaneers definitely going to be a tough matchup for the Bears, especially when they get to play at home. However, Justin Fields is going to have a great game in order to win this one.
Right. We saw what the Buccaneers could do with home field advantage last Super Bowl. We'll see if it's enough to get the job done here against Chicago this week. Moving on now to our Sunday night matchup, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the San Francisco 49ers. I think this is going to be a really good game here. The Colts on a little bit of a streak now. They've come in, picked up some of their games as of late, come in at 2-4. The 49ers at 2-3 off of a bye week. We both opted for the 49ers here, Austin. Any key elements to this game that you're specifically watching for?
You have to look at how well are the Indianapolis Colts going to be able to throw the ball against this tough defensive line of the San Francisco 49ers. Are the Colts going to be able to protect Carson Wentz? That's the big question we have to ask ourselves. It's going to be a competitive game. Carson Wentz is going to be definitely scrambling out of the pocket, trying to extend plays. And can he connect on some of those extensions? That's a question we have to ask ourselves. I think it's going to be a 3-point win potentially, maybe a potential game-winning field goal. Both teams are around the same level of talent right now. I just like the 49ers slightly because they are at home.
Right, T.Y. Hilton going to be a key player to watch. in his debut this season. He had 3 catches for 70 yards. We'll see if he can go back a couple years and have another great performance in him to maybe upset the San Francisco 49ers here on primetime. Which brings us now to our Monday Night Football matchup. We have the New Orleans Saints at the Seattle Seahawks here. Saints 3-2. Seahawks are 2-3 here before Sunday Night Football when we record this. And of course, Geno Smith going to be the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks during this matchup. Does that play into the decision here, Austin, to go with New Orleans?
Yeah, I definitely would have probably taken the Seahawks at home. New Orleans is a good team for sure. Jameis Winston is really starting to figure things out. I hope he can continue his development there as he gets a little more comfortable as their starting quarterback. Sean Payton is going to start to open up that playbook for him as he gets more comfortable within the offense, within the flow of the game for this team. I think it's going to be tough for the Seattle Seahawks to win with Geno Smith, despite them being at home in a really tough place to play. I like New Orleans still on the road.
New Orleans going to probably get the job done here. It's tough to pick against Seattle when they're at home. We know what the 12s do. One of the best fan bases in all of football. However, without Russell Wilson, it's just a different dynamic. New Orleans goes in, gets the job done, moves to 4-2, and keeps their division hopes alive in that tough division where you have the Panthers and also the Buccaneers really walking away with that division, specifically the Buccaneers. Hopefully you guys did enjoy today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, also subscribe, and comment if you want a chance at walking away with this Justin Fields jersey. We would love for you guys to have an opportunity at winning it. And again, we really hope you did enjoy the content. A lot of fun recording. You guys have been absolutely killing it with the support. So again, thank you so much. We'll catch you guys in the very next Utility Sports video.